Mark, why does the Growers Company buy Ford? Is there any particular reason for that?
Yes, we do, because we depend on a good product, and Ford has been good to us in the past. We put a lot of miles on our vehicles, and they hold up for us, Joe.
And it was a long time ago, Mark, but you're still buying Ford trucks from Alexander Ford.
We sure do, and we get the same great service even today at Alexander Ford.
Alexander Ford. We were here for you then, here for you now, and long into the future. A difference you can count on.
Over 25 years of off-road racing dominance. Proprietary patented race technology. Proudly made in the USA. Unparalleled customer service and support. The choice of champions. King Shocks. The leader in off-road shock technology.
Hello, friends, and welcome to this episode of Fishgistics. This is your 25th anniversary Vegas to Reno Casey Folks race and recap. Sorry, and super stoked to be here with you today. Cameron Steele, of course, your host, along with my co-host with the most, Fish. How you doing, Fish?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for coming.
Thank you for being here, everybody. And Fish, thanks for the opportunity. Always have a lot of fun. Love just talking about our sport and getting some feedback from the racers that have had great results. We're starting off a little differently here today. Normally we start off with some of the athletes right away with us. But before we get to all the glory and all the fun stuff, Fish and I just wanted to come here and say that, of course, we're heartbroken over the loss of Darren Dreyer, UTV competitor who lost his life at Vegas to Reno. For me, being an off-road racer my entire life and having been a part of the sport as a driver since 1985, if you can believe that, definitely seen and been around my share of things. But anytime and every time we have an accident or someone passes away, tearing up a little bit right now, but it's something that hits hard. And for me, I just wanted to say, God bless his family and, a new racer, someone new to our sport, losing his life, doing the hobby that he loved is crushing, Fish.
Yeah. It's never a good thing. And, sometimes this stuff happens in our sport. It's it's a dangerous sport a bit. That's what it is. And, not everything's going to go perfect all the time. That's just the way that it is. But you try to, keep this to a minimum if you can. And, hopefully it doesn't happen very often.
I concur with that. And I just want to say, just to everybody out there, be safe, be smart, realize this is a very tough, very remote sport. Everybody that joins it knows that we're racing through the middle of the desert. And it's just terrible, a terrible day for our community. And we wanted to, say our prayers are with his family. Godspeed to Darren. And everybody just do what you can to stay as safe as you can, as humanly possible. Sorry, a little rattled this morning with all this. And just Fish, I think good idea to talk about this right here in the front. And again, our thoughts are with his family.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, obviously we can't go back in time, but the one thing we can do is we can change what we do in the future. So everybody just, when you're in the race, just be super smart. If you have to come to a stop on the track, that's the most dangerous time is when, that happens. If you have to get out of the car, really pay attention to the track, the other cars coming. There's cars in dust, someone's on someone's bumper. Always assume there's a car behind a car when a car passes you. And just try to stay as far away from the track as you can, unless you really have to go on the track for some reason, and just, make sure you can really see. Don't ever trust the dust.
For sure, never trust the dust. And just the amen to that, Fish. I think good points brought up. We're going to shift gears and start talking about the race. But once again, our thoughts are with him, with his friends. Everybody around the sport is mourning the loss of Darren Dreyer today. And obviously this week and this month and this year, it's a terrible tragedy for our sport. So God bless.
Yep.
Always hard to shift gears from that type of topic, but it's something that we need to do. It's off-road racing is a glorious sport, beautiful to be out in the great outdoors. And this race course, no doubt, has some incredibly beautiful sections, some very tough sections. It was reported by a number of racers, including Ricky Brabeck, who finished second in the race. This was the toughest, roughest Vegas Reno course he's seen. Obviously Ricky, Dakar racer, he could not be here today because he is testing for Dakar. Believe it or not, do they ever not test for Dakar?
They're always testing.
Yeah, we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna start smiling because that's what we all do when we go off-road racing. So
yep. Well, we got some people waiting. We can admit if you want to talk to him about the race.
I really don't know if we want to admit these guys. I heard that Steve Olagus is in the first section, and I just spent like a week and a half with him in Baja, and that might be enough for me. I'm just not.
Well,
sure.
his kid's with him, I think, so we can. Just
I like Jack. As long as Jack is there and Jack mans the radio at the trips, I'm good with that. So let's bring him in.
All right, let's bring him in. Let's see here. We got to.
So while we're doing that, you guys, let's officially re-welcome you to the 25th anniversary of Vegas to Reno. Casey folks race. Casey obviously no longer with us, but this was his baby, something he really loved, and this is a spectacular race that just like I said, races through some beautiful countryside. And we're going to welcome some of our guests in right now as we're getting everybody on board.
They're in.
I see some semi-confused faces there. Those must be the Dean boys. But I wanted to first of all welcome Steve and Jack Olagus, father and son, not racing together, but racing as a.
Oh, did we lose Cameron?
Second overall trophy truck. I'll bring it home in Class 1, James and Jordan Dean, and that's very cool. And I'm gonna ask you before I say it, Matt, the Class 1000 winner or Class 10 for those of you that aren't familiar with the classes. Matt, how do you say your last name properly?
It is Rusich.
Rusich. Okay, Matt Rusich, our Class 10 winner. Very cool. Overall, we'll start talking about some different things, but the first thing I want to do is I want to jump over here to the Dean boys. You guys ran a flawless race. You guys have been known to be those guys, hair on fire, running super fast. It doesn't always work out for you, but it seems like you guys had a great race start to finish and that you really nailed your plan. So congratulations to you guys. I believe 5th overall. And for a while there was talk of you being in contention for that overall win.
Yeah, it was pretty good. This is our first time teaming up. This is my only second race. I raced a snow race earlier this year with my brother in this car. So I got to qualify to the first half. My job was strictly to be a delivery guy, get the car to him with no damage. So we ended up qualifying second buggy, like 9th overall. And I pretty much stayed in line all day. I had one flat, like a quarter mile out from a pit. So they changed it. Me and my co-rider, Matt Brady, stayed in the car all day long, pretty smooth, gave the car to James. I think we were like 4th on road and first buggy. So, yeah. And like
those of you that aren't totally sure about this, that's Jordan talking. He's the younger brother. And then James, go ahead, continue. I wanted to make sure I introduced who is who.
Yeah, so after the drivers, we did a driver change at pit 7, 246. I got in and we just kind of got all the cars started stacking up, and I got lucky. My dad passed us and had a householder's truck, and there's 2 more trucks. Steve was in front of us at that point, Eric Husted, and I got real lucky to where Eric and Steve both had a flat right after, so I got to follow my dad. And for me, that was a great pace to follow and just kind of stuck with him. And we picked up a little bit of pace. And like I said, at one point after the race, I found out that we had contention for first overall, but we've had some bad luck. So we were more worried about the class win and just making sure we got the car to the finish. That's more important for our sponsors right now.
Right on. And quickly reference, you guys mentioned your dad a couple of times, Pat Dean, Baja 1000 winner, my former partner in 2018. We won the 1000 together. He's definitely one of those shoes. So he's raising a couple boys that have great skills in the desert and great attitudes, fun to be around. I love that. And speaking of raising great kids, Steve Olagus, welcome to Fishgistics. Jack, welcome. Stoked to have you. Now, Steve, second overall. Holy cow, that is so close to the spot we also covet. But what a great job. Congratulations to the entire Team Ford race team.
Thank you so much, Cameron. I'm going to ask you before I say it, Matt.
Whoa. Are you there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm right here. Cameron, we wanted to win this. It was the 25th anniversary, and we've been on the podium a few times on this race, and it was just to win it for Casey would have been really cool. But, one thing that people forgot is that this was the first race I've ever been to when we started 2 minutes apart. And I think that kind of changed the dynamics for a lot of things because we actually had a flat at, I think, mile marker 120, and we were able to change it and still keep position on the course. So it really did some cool things. Hats off to promoters for doing that. But I was starting right behind the Dean boys, and we're good friends, as you know. So I just kind of had them kind of push everybody through the pack, and we have, the Ken Block and just the whole group with us. But it was a fantastic race, and I just finally came up. It was at the very end, though. It was close because we were the fourth truck in, and nobody knew where everybody was because BJ was a few seconds behind us, and then we also had the Bean and Graf in their truck, and I think they had a hiccup towards the end. So it came down the wire, Cameron.
It seems like it always does at Vegas to Reno. It feels like the timing's hard. The one thing about Vegas to Reno ending in Dayton is that you don't get a lot of radio chatter. You don't get a lot of good information through those mountains. So there's a lot of the team's always like, well, what's the finishing order? It's kind of tough. Jack, congratulations getting that win. Now I'm going to ask you, Jack, how many UTV classes are there and which UTV class did you win?
I don't know exactly how many UTV classes there are, but there's a ton. I think there's probably maybe 7. The UTV class I was in was UTV Rally. I think we had 14 people in our class, and we were able to win it.
That's very cool. Congratulations. Now, your teammate, Bryce Marking, is the son of off-road legend and just recently inducted into the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, or the induction's coming, but it's been announced. John Marking, who is a guru at Fox, obviously holds a ton of those patents, a good friend of ours. Do you guys have some secret sauce in those shocks, or what's the story there? That's what I want to know.
Not really. I mean, the first time I even met him was 2 days before the race, and the first time he saw the car was 1 day before the race. So we never even had time to go test with each other or even test suspension or anything. So it was pretty much just how it's been all season, but he's told us a few things, so I think we'll change some things around.
I don't think you have to change too much. I mean, you guys just won. What are you gonna? Don't mess it up.
John was a little vocal at the end of things we need to do. So obviously he knows what he's talking about, and we'll make changes.
John being outspoken, I find it hard to believe.
He's brutally to the point. You know how he is. So.
Yeah, he's amazing. Well, congratulations, Jack. How's that feel winning Vegas to Reno? I mean, you're 17, is that right?
I'm 14.
Oh, just kidding. You have a driver's license.
Yeah.
How's that feel at 14? Does that resonate for you, having watched your dad race that race for so many years? I mean, how important does that feel?
Oh, it was amazing to hear I won. I mean, I've watched my dad go race Vegas to Reno since I was a little boy. He's finally.
You still are a little boy.
No, little boy.
He finally let me go about 2 years ago, and I was hooked ever since. Like, it was my first chase race, and I thought it was amazing, and I was waiting till the day I was able to race it. And this year they were letting my class race, and I knew this was my time, that I hopefully could go win it.
Super cool, Jack. You better be careful, or you're going to end up being like these two guys at the bottom of my screen. I don't know where they are on your screen, but those Dean boys have turned into some pretty fabulous off-road racers and on their way to hero status, following in the footsteps of their dad. Let's shift it up a little bit. Now, I profess that I know a lot about off-road racing. I can tell you about the Class 1000 or Class 10 cars, but I know nothing about our winner in Class 10. So I wanted to welcome you into the chaos. I hope you don't mind us coming at it a little bit like this, but I think it's only fair, Matt, if we ask you for a little bit of your background and how you fit into the sport.
Well, I started racing off-road probably about 4 or 5 years ago, but my dad and my older brother actually raced. My dad raced through the 90s, and my older brother raced through the early 2000s and 1600, and actually battled with you and Rob McCacken a little bit. So That's how we got our start. There's a big age gap between me and my brother, so they kind of left the sport for a while, and then once it came time for me, we got back in and decided we were going to jump into class 10. It was a relatively pretty competitive class and seemed to be somewhat affordable relatively for off-road racing. So we started off with that and slowly just started working our way up to the top, and finally made it here.
So is this your first major off-road race win, or have you won some other races previously?
I've won probably about 4 races up in the Moore series in the high desert, but nothing in best in desert or score yet. We've been close a few times, but close doesn't get it done. So this is the first big one that we've ever had with me and my team, and it's pretty awesome. It's a great feeling.
Congratulations. That's it's always awesome to get your first win in a big series like that. And the 25th anniversary of Vegas Reno is a great place to do that. What is your car? Tell us a little bit about it, and how was your race?
So our car is actually built by ES Motorsports. It's a little bit different than everybody else's. It's a J-arm mid-engine car. It's got a 5-speed instead of a 6-speed like some of the other cars. Honestly, my partner Justin, he started the race and drove it to 220. That's right where we got in, and then just took it to the finish. He gave me the car about 4th or 5th on the road, and I think it was about 4th on corrected time. And I just put my head down and tried to not make any mistakes and try to go forward. So we ended up picking some cars off, and we were battling some cars back and forth with pit strategies getting towards the end there. But I knew we were close to winning on time, about 80 miles from the finish. So I just tried to block that out and just make no mistakes and get it there. And we were actually second car to finish, but we were first on corrected time. So it was a little close there at the end, but we got it done.
Yeah, it looks like you guys won by about 5 minutes or so once the times were in, 4.5 minutes or something. So pretty good. That class is always really close. I know there's always some like controversy in that class too, or something. Like I heard rumors of somebody getting protested maybe or something, but I guess you guys ended up coming on top. So that's always good. The class 10 guys are always looking for like a little bit of an advantage. So it's a pretty cool class to have that many cars that are, a spec class basically that's that close together. It makes for good racing.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, any organization you go to, whether it's Moore or Snore, Best in Desert or Score, there's always a competitive class. There's always at least 10 cars in there, and out of those 10, there's at least 5 that can win. So it's definitely a really fun class, and it's good.
Speaking of smack talk, Fish, I know this is something that will be of interest to you and I, since our friend's name is Pat Daly. Was the class 10 car faster, or was the 7200 faster?
The 10 car was 8:48, and then let me look. I'm looking on the results. I got to find 7200.
Do you know, Matt? Did you beat the 7200 truck, the factory Honda truck?
That I don't know.
906. He did.
Oh, there you go.
Which is we always seem to find the Honda truck, whether it's in Mexico or Vegas Reno. The last few years, we've always been back and forth. So it's good to finally beat him. I do know we beat the UTVs too, so that was good.
Bragging rights. It's suddenly the world has changed a little bit, where the bragging rights are a big part of it. And it's cool, Matt, that you're able to have that bragging right. I raced 7200 at this race. Actually, I wouldn't really call it racing. We were doing some testing, and it didn't go that well, but we got all the information that we were looking for. But congratulations once again. Speaking of having good races and putting it down in the buggies, I want to ask the Dean boys, how when you're calculating that, James, and I know for you love that overall, how do you calculate that with the, saying we're not going to go for that overall as you're closing in on the end of it? Where was that decision made, or was that something you guys talked about before you ever went racing?
So, like I said, we've definitely talked about it. It's been one of those things where I ran one full season, and I was always running top 5 and just always up there. And towards the end, the buggies, we kind of fade. We're not as strong as we are at the beginning, where the trucks can do a full sprint for a 500-mile race, and they almost 1,000 now these days. They're getting pretty indestructible. Whereas a buggy, we're still a little more nimble. We got a little bit more working parts involved. So our biggest thing going into this race was unfortunately, our grandfather, he's been everything to us. And 2 years ago, he had a couple strokes, and so he's not been the guy he is. He's recovering a little bit. So right now, it's time for my brother and I to step up, and my dad to figure out our racing program. So our biggest goal this race was just to finish, and we weren't worried about the trucks. And like for me, I would love to beat the trucks. I do think a buggy. There are certain races we saw the chance, but like I said, for this race, it was one of those things where it wasn't worth it for us. We'd rather get the class win instead of trying to push a little bit harder to get the truck for the overall. So for us, no one told me times, which was smart. Our pitch.
Don't put the red flag in front of the bull, right?
Exactly right. So our picture did amazing. My dad and my brother, they made the call to say, hey, let's back it down just a notch. You're doing great. And then we got passed by Bean going from weeks to the finish line, and I let him go, and he left. And like I said, my goal is just get to the finish line. So we got to that real gnarly part where everyone starts knocking tires off at the finish. And my biggest thing was I'm not getting a flat. We just need to keep moving forward. And my co-rider did an amazing job. It was his first time. His name's Reese, and we clicked real good. And like I said, we just had a flawless day. There was no pulling over. And at the end of the day, that's what wins races. You don't get flats, especially at this race.
Yeah,
I just want to personally thank you guys for not winning the overall, because I have some bets out there with some people that buggy will never win the overall again. It would have cost me a little bit of money. So I like your strategy of not going for the overall. Keep that up.
That's some harsh stuff right there. Hey, you mentioned your grandfather. Just a quick nod of the hat to Butch Dean. Butch, one of the greatest legends in our sport. Just someone that's been instrumental in so many racers' history and getting people out on the track and bringing new technology and ideas to the races. So we just hope that Butch has a great recovery. We love the Dean family, and you guys are an important part of our racing heritage. So stoked to see you guys out there. What's the age difference? That's a good question that people might want to ask.
I'm 25. My brother's 22. So we got about 2.5 year difference between the two of us.
So did your dad strategically put you guys in the same race car so you have to fight it out to kind of figure it out? It's pretty cool to see you guys racing together. And I can see James, the pressure, right? Jordan brings you the car in his first Class 1 race with you and brings it there like right in the front. And you're like, oh crap, we can't mess this up or I'm going to be that guy.
Exactly right. It was one of those things, like I said, with our grandfather in the position he's at, we needed to come together, and we're going to start racing a lot more together. So instead of pushing it off, we figured let's just start it over. And my brother is amazing. He did a great job first race, and he's going to be our key to making sure we get to that halfway point and always give us a good car. So really looking forward to the future.
Right on. That's great to hear.
What? I'm sorry.
Jordan's like, no, I don't have anything else to say. Hey, Steve, what do you think the difference for you is, and what do you think some of the keys to this race? I know flats are a huge issue. I don't know if you had any. What's going to take for you to jump to that next spot? You know, that now you're right there, right? My game plan always has been put ourselves consistently in that podium position, and or in that top 5, the podium will come. But to get to that top spot, what's going to be the difference maker for you, do you think? Or what do you think you have to go back to the drawing board to beat Ryan Arciero at this particular race?
Well, I think there's a few things. Number one, we have that new G6 with a new power plant. And, back in Parker, we because of the COVID, we drew first off the line and we held it. We were the first truck all the way to the last 27 miles of the race. So, we've been knocking kind of on the door, but I think a lot of it is the truck, obviously the new power plants. I actually have 2 trucks. I got the all-wheel drive with Jesse Jones' old truck. And I think we did have a few flats, I had 2. And Mark Newhand, who drove the second part of the race, or he got a Mombarker 300, he had 1. But I think the biggest thing is just the team's really stepping up. We're working a lot on their pit stops. McCaffrey Motorsports taught us a lot in San Felipe when I raced against you down there. And I think the pits and to be honest, like we talked about on the phone the other day, is the confidence level. We're not the young guys anymore out there, and or I'm not, and the confidence level that we came with the second place to behind Ryan Arciero, and I know Bryce was really having a great pace, and he had a hiccup at the end, but yeah, it's just the confidence and the prep and the new packages we were running.
Right on. And Matt, what's your trajectory in the sport? What are you looking at? Are you chasing the Best in Desert Championship? What's next for you?
Well, that's the question we're talking about this week and next. We were originally chasing the score series with a partner, and it's gone well. But after winning this, I think now we're either the points leader, or if not, being very close to being the points leader in Best in the Desert. So we have obligations to race the 400 right now with our partner. So luckily I have a spare 10 car, so we might pull that out and go finish up the Best in the Desert series and go collect some points there. So we're not 100% sure yet, but as of right now, it's the Baja 400.
Right on. What about the Dean boys? You guys coming out to Baja? You guys doing more Best in the Desert? What's the trajectory for you guys? And how are you in the points now? Have you guys been chasing the points in Best in the Desert?
No, we haven't chased any points this year. We're just getting back to racing right now. I think we're going to try to hit maybe the mid 400 later this year.
Oh,
and
awesome.
Then next year we might pick a full championship, or we'll pick and choose. It just all depends on what sponsors want. Unfortunately, with the two in the state series right now, Legacy and Best in the Desert, it's hard to tell which one is the series we're supposed to be running, So we're going to discuss with sponsors, see where they want us at, and wherever they want us at, we're going to go see what we can do.
Yeah, well, it's an awesome problem to have, having too many places to go race maybe, but we'll see how that shakes out. Jack, 14 years old. What's the trajectory, buddy? What are we doing? Are we racing UTVs for a while? I think you better wait till you get your driver's license or something to move into other classes, but it seems like things have been going well for you and you're having fun. Are you going to be able to race more Best in the Desert this year, or you're going back to school either this week or next week, right?
Yeah, so I started school right before Vegas Reno, but right now as in points, we're first in Best in the Desert and in Legacy. So we're going to finish up both of those series and see how we do. And then next year we'll probably step it up to a higher class in the UTVs and see how we do there. And then I don't know what to do from there, but maybe 6100.
What is your you race a UTV rally class? What is your car actually though? Is it a I know that class has to be mostly stock kind of, right? What is, maybe educate people on the UTV rally class? What is it actually?
Yeah, so the UTV rally class, you can run a stock fuel cell. You just need a cage, seats, and all the safety equipment, fire extinguishers, all that. You're allowed to run an upgraded fuel cell. We do that just for safety. It's not much larger than the stock one, but yeah, that's kind of it. We don't do the clutching and all that like the Pro Turbos and Unlimited guys do, but we're right up there with them too.
What is your car? I forget. Is it a Polaris or a Can-Am?
Can-Am.
Can-Am. Okay.
Right on. Well, we're looking forward to seeing all you guys back at the races shortly. More fun in the desert. Really quick, Steve, you've raced this race many times. We've heard from a number of people this is the roughest Vegas Reno that they had seen. Would you concur, or would you say no?
Yeah, and I hate using the word, every race is the roughest, but the way they ran it and with all these storms they had with the rainstorms, I think really caused a lot. And they used part of that legacy race that we did a couple months ago, and it was really rocky and people were getting flats there. So yeah, it just kind of seemed like we're going through a boulder field off the start, and of course the endings where the section the Mark had was really rock. So yeah, I would have to say it's probably the roughest as far as the course terrain was.
I call that section after that Bonnie Claire. Usually that used to be around mile 100 in the race. That's like flat tire alley. Yep. You're kind of in the race going for it, and all of a sudden these rocks start showing up everywhere. But sooner in the race didn't seem to change the trajectory. It seemed
just
like
kept going. Yeah, and we did get a flat there, and then 100 miles later we got another one. So it was just like now a lot of people were doing that. We're going back and forth past each other with flats.
It's hard to keep them going sometimes, Fish. They sometimes we just want to go so fast that we got to park them for a couple minutes.
Yeah, they get tired. They got to take a nap real quick.
Tired.
Nap time. Right on. Well, we thank all you guys for being a part of this first segment of Fishgistics. Matt, the Dean boys, and of course the Olagus family. And Matt,
Thank
really
you for
quick,
having us.
where are you out of, Matt? Because these other two people groups are from Las Vegas. I'm just wondering if you happen to be from Las Vegas as well.
We're out of Riverside, California.
There you go. We used to race there way back in the day. I missed that.
Yep. That's closer to us.
That's close to us. That's right. Anyway, you guys, thank you all for being a part of it. Have a great day. Be safe. We're going to jump away and get us into segment number 2, I believe. Is that going to work, Austin?
Yeah. Let's get these people added in here, and then we will.
Thanks, everybody.
Move on.
Thank you.
Let's
Thank
see.
you.
Thanks.
All right, here we go. They
This
are
is going to
joining.
be an interesting segment, everybody. We're going to talk about a couple of different classes that you maybe haven't heard a lot about. We are going to talk about three-wheelers, which I don't know that I've ever talked about when it comes to racing, other than talking to Marty Hart and, of course, Ronnie Wilson and a couple friends out of the Vegas area that grew up, Sammy Ehrenberg, racing three-wheelers. That's pretty incredible. So welcome to the show. Looks like we have a couple of our
try to get him to start his video here. Let's see.
There we go.
There we go.
We got John Frana here, right?
He's not here yet. He should be here any second.
Okay. Definitely we have how do you say your name? Rangel?
Wrangle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wrangle Dubler, a three-wheel racer. And is this, I'm sorry, Austin?
No, not yet.
Show me
That's
this.
gonna
I
be
got to see
Carson.
this. Hey, let me go to my different view. Okay. Carson, are you there?
Yep.
Right there we go. Hey, Carson, how are you, man? Sorry, technical difficulties on my end. And here comes someone else. Now I can see everybody. That's going to help definitely a lot. Let's talk really quick to Wrangler. Say it again. Wrangle. Hey, how long have you owned that three-wheeler? And what are you doing racing?
I bought this three-wheeler back in 2001. I was 21 years old. I was looking for a 250R to stuff a CR500 engine into for Sand Mountain, and I couldn't find a 250R, and I found this 350X. It was actually in my neighborhood, and I got it with the title, and yeah, I've had it ever since. I've owned a lot of different quads and Banshees and all kinds of stuff, and everything broke except for this, so I just kept this.
It's got to be tough to keep going through Vegas. The first question I have for you is, I know the ATVs can ride half on the rut and half on the crown. Same, with the UTVs and the bigger cars riding both ruts. The bikes riding one rut or on the side. Or what do you do with the three-wheeler when you get to those big rutted areas?
So the rutted areas are kind of difficult because when your front tire is let's put it this way, one of your back tires is down in the rut, whatever side it is, and your front tire wants to kind of follow it. It wants to drop into the rut with it. Well, the problem is then you're pointing, the wrong direction. And so you're constantly fighting it, trying to keep it up out of that rut. And eventually what will happen is that tire will ride up on the wall on the other side, and then it sucks the front tire down, and then you launch off the berm going the other way. It's pretty sketchy. So it's kind of go as fast as you can while kind of drifting it on the top of that crown. And you just try to pick a side, pick whatever side you want and stick with that. It's kind of hard towards the end of the race too, because those ruts were as tall as those 40-inch tires on those trophy trucks. I mean, they were, so I was riding some of those like berms and stuff. It was kind of cool.
What is wrong with you that would make you want to do this?
So I'll be honest with you. I bought this three-wheeler, and a lot of people made fun of me back in 2001. Three-wheelers weren't cool, or at least a lot of people didn't think they were cool. I did. I grew up with them. My dad bought I think it was a big red, like a 250 or 350X SX or something. We still have it. My older brother still has it. Bought it from the local dealer here, and grew up on three-wheelers. I love them. And like I said, I raced dirt bikes and had quads and everything else. And I just always loved these things. And I knew it's a tank, And so my brother and I, back in, we were talking about it in the 90s, but, once I got this thing in 2001, we were talking about racing best in the desert, Vegas to Reno on this, just something I always wanted to do is a dream.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
It's pretty wild. I mean, to see it out there. I wanted to ask you really quick before we move on to talk to some other people, and we will come back to you.
Yeah.
Do you strike the quintessential three-wheeler pose when you're sliding the corners, which is the hang your butt off the side, slide it sideways, kicked out, leg up thing?
Oh yeah, you have to. Your foot, like say if I was sliding, to the right or something, your foot would be clear up here. And you have to be clear off to the side. It takes a lot of driver input If you're going to sit on top of this thing like you do on a quad and think you're going to ride it at speed, that's how people get hurt. These things, I like to think, I used to ride street bikes too. It takes more input than even a street bike to keep this thing on all three wheels, for sure.
To me, what comes to mind when you talk about riding the three-wheeler is that you're punk rock. That's what comes to mind for me. So we appreciate the effort and are in awe of what you accomplished. Speaking of in awe, we're going to jump around here a little bit. But John Frana, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct, but it looks like it, driving the Subaru wagon in the
You guys were awesome.
25th anniversary Vegas Reno, man. Congratulations on an official finish.
Thanks, Cameron.
Yeah, how cool is that? Let's talk about your vehicle a little bit. What is it? What did you build it for? And did you purposely build it for Vegas Reno?
So I guess real quick, I had a 96 Impreza daily driver and I hit a deer with it. And at the time we had a single seat buggy we were doing some enduro racing with. And the one place we went, we really needed a pre-runner because it was super easy to get lost. And so I thought, well, this Impreza is basically totaled. We might as well take it there, see what it can do. And the thing could do just about anything. So then I bought this car, and within a year, we were building long travel suspension for it. The stock suspension wasn't good enough coming from the buggies. So then the gas tank rusted out. And so, well, it's just as easy to put in a fuel cell, we'll have more capacity. Well, then at that point, all you need is a cage to go racing, right? So we put in a cage, and at the time we were still racing the buggy, like some Texas desert races, some other enduros, and we drug this thing down there and seemed to do pretty well, hold up all right. It's definitely not fast. It definitely doesn't ride as good as a buggy, but it's pretty reliable, probably partially because it's so slow. But yeah, and then just ever since then, we do a lot of trail riding mostly. But we've put a 6-cylinder engine in it. We put a STI drivetrain in it, keep upgrading the suspension, keep beefing up all the suspension mounts to keep ripping apart and cracking. And yeah, it's just mainly trail riding and just kind of working out all the bugs, I guess.
So you said long travel. I'm interested to know because like right here behind me in the picture of my truck, I have 25 inches more or less of front wheel travel. What is the long travel version of the Subaru wagon?
Well, for a Subaru, we've got 10 in front and 12 in the rear, which stock is about 6 and 8. So
that's pretty good. That's pretty, you can do some stuff with that.
Yeah. We've had pretty big jumps and some decent rhythm sections and stuff with it. So
are those 32-inch tires on it? It's hard to tell from here, but I'm just guessing.
No, they're about 28.
The 28. Oh man. Those tires behind me right there are 40s. That's why they call us country clubbers, as you know. What was the time? How far off the time cutoff fish were they? What was that? What was the moment?
I don't have them on my results sheet here. I don't know why they didn't put them on here, but they finished within the time limit.
How much time did you have? How much did you beat the time limit by?
Hour and 20.
Oh, so you had plenty of time. You guys could have stopped for coffee or something.
Right. Yeah.
So did you guys drove that? You're from Illinois, I think, right? And did you drive that car out, do the race, and then drive it back home?
Yes.
That is freaking awesome.
There you go. That's pretty cool.
That might be equally punk rock to the three-wheeler story right there.
Yeah, honestly, like when I was doing my live coverage during the race, between these two guys, they had the most fans, questions, people rooting for them. Anytime anything was live, they just wanted to know where they were. Like they didn't even care who was winning the race. They're just like, where's the Subaru? Where's the three-wheeler? Like literally 50 times every update. It was like when Robbie Gordon races, except this was a three-wheeler and a Subaru.
Carson and Austin, don't feel overshadowed by these two guys. You guys have great stories also, but the story of the determination to do it is pretty cool on both of your guys' parts. I wanted to say congratulations for you guys both getting to the finish line. You guys both got first place trophies, right? The three-wheeler and the Subaru?
Absolutely.
Oh, second place in the Subaru. Okay, gotcha. Who were you racing against in the Subaru?
There was a Class 1 car, and then there was a Cherokee bodied something behind us. I don't know. It was pretty impressive. Definitely way more suspension than we had. So I think they wound up beating us. Yeah, and hats off to Wrangle there. Holy crap, those ruts. those ruts are 2 or 3 feet deep. You know, by the time we get through, I can't even imagine trying that on a 3-wheeler. That's impressive, dude.
It was definitely interesting, that's for sure. The rocks was the worst, honestly.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I heard you had a flat on the 3-wheeler at one point, and it was a rear flat. So did you just like, you know, hike it up and just ride on 2 wheels to the pit, or what?
So it's kind of funny because I guess that's how legends are made, but I don't know where that story came from. I did
Just
get a
let it
flat.
run. Don't deny it. Just say I don't remember.
Yeah, no, I rode it on 2 wheels for 350 miles. No, no, it was kind of funny because I got a flat in the Vora Fallon 250, almost in the exact same spot a month ago. And so I rode 400 miles with no flats and got a flat in almost the same spot. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And, you know, it basically on a 3-wheeler, you can't dodge a lot of rocks because you have 3 tracks. So you try to send one right between the front and the rear tire, you know, if you can, or to the outside. And so that's what I did. And it caught the inside lip of the tire and just right and put a hole in it. So I just kind of leaned to the side, you know, and I rode it for, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles like that. And then I realized I was going to ruin my brand new bead lock or ruin a tire or something. I thought, you know, I've got everything to fix it here. I hope, depending on how bad the hole was. And so I pulled over, and it was cool. A couple of the bike guys, I don't know who they were, but a couple of bike guys stopped by, and they're like cheering me on and stuff. And they were guys that I battled with all the way across the state, and they ended up taking off. And but anyways, yeah, I threw a couple of plugs in it, hit it with CO2, and was able to get into Top Gun. But yeah, it was. I didn't ride it on 2 wheels. I just kind of leaned over and, you know, rode as fast as I could on a flat.
So. Right on. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about UTVs. Carson Wernemont, winner of the naturally aspirated class, and then Austin Whelan, winner of the UTV Turbo class. Carson, first of all, that last name of yours carries some weight in our sport. Care to enlighten everybody on your the history of your name?
Yeah. I'll. I think a lot of the people watching might have to open up a history book to see where my last name comes from. But yeah, my dad he built a bunch of Class 8 trucks and trophy trucks back in the day, and started his career working at PPI Toyota for Cal Wells, and went from there and did his own thing, and eventually started building some Class 8 trucks at Venable, and Robbie Gordon drove for him, and he was a young kid, and went from there and built pretty much the first trophy truck, starting with like a Jeep Grand Cherokee thing, and then Simon and Simons, and Ultra Wheels trophy truck that just got restored, and a lot of publicity on the internet. And so yeah, I kind of grew up around the off-road industry, and just kind of fell in love with it from a young age, and grew up going to short course races with my dad and Scotty Taylor. My dad built a lot of Scotty Taylor stuff, so it was cool. I've always wanted to do this, and this is my first year racing, and now I'm here talking to you guys, so it's a dream come true.
Well, clearly no family pressure on you to do well or anything like that.
Right.
Going into that first race at Parker, I've never driven an off-road race in my life, and my dad was like, we better win or we're going to park all this stuff and go do something else. So
no pressure at all. And then on top of that, I don't know if he's your full-time navigator or not, but Reed Nordine's in the car with you, right?
Yeah. So on top of that, Reed's another legend, and he's riding with me. He's a OG 3-wheeler guy from back in the day, and was a Kawasaki team manager for many years, and he's got all sorts of experience, and is responsible for many championships at Kawasaki, and he's been a huge part of our program, and getting me desert savvy so I don't rip the wheels off this thing and make it to the finish line.
Yeah, that's definitely 2 legends in your corner for sure. I was there for your pit at 246 at the BFG semi, and so I was able to watch and give the thumbs up, see Reed in there. But so your very first year of racing off-road, what other type of racing have you done?
As a teenager, I actually raced remote control cars, so I don't know if that counts as anything. But yeah, I mean, with that, I learned a lot of like design and geometry, and even just kind of racecraft of how to navigate through races, when to push, when to slow down. Other than that, I don't know, go-karts at pole position.
Yeah, right on. How much of the creativity of your car do you and Reed and your dad put into that? Or are you guys buying more off the shelf stuff? What are you guys doing to the car that might be different?
Everything on our car's handmade. I mean, we bought a steering wheel, and we started with the stock frame rails of a KRX, and we chose that platform because we just kind of walked around the dealership and we're like, that car looks like it's got the best geometry, bulletproof driveline, and we made everything ourselves in-house. So we made all of our own suspension and obviously the whole cage. And I mean, I designed a fuel cell and had it made, designed a radiator, had it made, everything. I mean, hubs, everything. I mean, we did it ourselves.
That's really cool to hear. I love to hear that type of story. I'm not that kind of guy. I just drive them, but that's okay. I have a passion for the desert. But that's great storytelling and fun to hear. So your first year, so is this your third race then? Is this how many races have you done?
Yeah, technically third race. I would say probably second, because Silver State, we made about 40 miles and decided to chop down a bunch of trees for them. So we didn't make it very far there.
Off track excursion.
Yeah. We decided to go through the trees doing about 60 or 70. We had a mechanical failure in our steering system and exit stage left. So
I was going to blame Reed for a navigational error. Sounds like so much more fun.
No, that was I don't think it was. I mean, I'll take the blame because I'm the driver, but
No. It's always the co-driver.
Always the navigator's fault. Always. Never accept any responsibility. That's the first rule of being a race car driver. But we're going to shift it over to Austin Wieland. Am I saying that right, Austin?
Weiland.
Sorry. Believe me, I've been on a name butchering trend today. I've been crushing it. Never trust the announcer one bit. That's my thing to say. Winner of the UTV Turbo class, and if I'm not mistaken, this is a Fortin built car. Is that correct?
No, it's a Tisco built car with all the Fortin drivetrain.
Okay, gotcha. So Tisco built Fortin drivetrain.
Yep.
Right on. And how long have you been racing? Because there's not a lot of experience here next to you.
I raced motocross growing up, and then took a break in high school and all that, and then started doing dwarf cars and sprint car stuff. And then got a wild hair when Doug was racing short course, and went and built a YXC to go race short course, and then went from there and built a hammers car, race hammers. And then we said, all right, let's just go desert racing. So I think this is my third full season in desert racing.
That's cool. I love to see the new faces and styles, Fish. I mean, both newer faces to the UTVs, the Subaru, the three-wheeler, new energy. This is really, when you talk to Sal Fish back in the day, why so many classes? And he's like, because everybody can race. Everybody can pick something they like and they can come out and race. And I think that's a great story that we're telling here. So a couple of legendary builders around your vehicle, Austin, with the Tisco guys and Fortin. How involved are you with talking to Doug about that? Because out of all the racers that are out there, I mean, obviously I respect Doug massively as a driving talent with all the wins that he has. But his forward thinking on his drivetrain engineering is pretty amazing as well. You get to spend a lot of time talking to him about it.
Yeah, I talked to Doug a lot. We the first product he built for the Can-Am, I was over at a shop. I was like, we should build this stuff. And he's like, all right. So then Justin, that's actually my co-driver, is Doug's engineer. And so they just started building it, and we've been testing it since he built the first one. We've been running it every day since. And every time it comes out with a new product, we start testing it. So I talked to Doug before, after every race. We send all our parts back there to be gone through to constantly improve it.
That's awesome. I mean, having that kind of sounding board, I mean, kind of like Carson has, you guys just have great people to go back to talk about it. And then you guys bring the talent on race day, which is super cool. Being able to win, obviously Carson win in the NA class, but you win in that turbo class. How many entries in your class? That is just a staggering amount of competition that's out there racing.
Yeah, I think there was like 52 entries in the class this time. And there's always, every single race, at least 10, 12 people that you have to worry about that can win. So it's not just 2 or 3, it's 10, 12 people we're constantly getting splits about and seeing where they are. And constantly watching it. And it's just whoever has a better day manages the belt the best and goes from there. That's usually walks away with the win.
I know this was the first time that you guys had qualifying. How did you find that, and how did you go in qualifying?
I liked it. It was nice because at Silver State we started way back, so I was happy to be able to start further to the front and not deal with as much dust. We qualified sixth out of I think 40 something qualified, so I was pretty happy with that. But these things are a little finicky, so we couldn't push qualifying super hard because we were worried we were going to break something for race day. And there's a lot of different little issues we always have, so we took it easy in qualifying. We pushed a decent amount and walked away with sixth, that I was happy with. So started up close enough that we could push during race day and try to avoid some dust.
Yeah, I was just looking at the results, and there was 24 finishers in both the turbo class and the pro NA class. So I mean, there was more finishers in both of those classes than a lot of other classes even started with. So that's definitely a lot of good racing, a lot of competition in the UTV classes nowadays.
It wasn't that long ago that there was smack talk about the UTVs coming in and
well, they're still golf carts. They're just fast.
They're faster golf carts.
Golf carts.
It's amazing the doors that it's opened for people to come and race, and great to see young blood coming into the sport. Obviously, I race in the trophy truck, or in this case, trick truck class, and it's hard to get there, and it's hard to sustain those sponsors. But I think it's great to see that there's places for people to race and earn that credibility and be able to find their way through the classes however they want to do it. Or maybe they want to race UTV all the time, because I got to be honest, I've raced my Can-Am a couple times at King of the Hammers, and damn, it's impressive and fun, and it's a good time, and you don't have to spend the money to have this thing sitting in your shop all year long, which can be a little bit crazy at times. Hey, I wanted to ask you, John, you race anything else?
Not right now, but my basically crew chief, Ryan Brubman, and I used to race short course back east, like Crandon, Bark River, Pearl Buggy, Super Buggy. We had the 4-wheel drive buggy, if you ever saw that. So we did that for 10 or 12 years.
Did your brother used to work for the Baldwins?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, okay. He's worked for Baldwin's. He was actually the crew chief for Scott Taylor, Small World. So yeah, we kind of know Russ. And yeah, who else? Steve Barlow, Adrian Cheney. He's been crew chief. Deegan, all sorts of short course guys.
Very cool. Do you guys have any? I know I asked you this before, but just for everyone here, do you have any? Because a lot of people were asking, any intention of going to Baja with the car?
No. That seems too much.
If you thought the ruts were big at Vegas to Reno, you can't believe the ruts you run into in Baja. It's absolutely crazy. With the pre-running, it just develops a whole different animal.
Yeah,
for sure. So, Carson, what's next for you guys? You guys following this Best in the Desert circuit? What else is going on for you guys?
Yeah. So we're gonna follow the rest of the Best in the Desert races. We'll do Laughlin is next for us, and then depending on how we do at Laughlin, we'll see if we want to save our car to go after a championship and race Parker, or if we're out of the championship, we'll race UTV World Championship in the Mint. And after that, it's kind of up in the air because there's a little bit of controversy with our car, and it's not legal next year now, so we don't really know what we're gonna do.
Do you mind me asking what the controversy is and what we're talking about? Is it because you guys do have more handmade parts on the car?
Yeah, we kind of just, since we kind of built something different and our car looks different, people obviously think we got a tube frame car and we did this and did that, and we followed the rules and just played suit as we saw like other people like Holtz and stuff do. We got stock frame rails, stock pivot boxes. We just moved our box to the lower arm in the front, moved the steering rack to the front side of spindles like you would on a traditional race car. And cars have been like that for the past 8 years. And all of a sudden we won and people are freaking out. So
it's always different when you win.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure what we're going to do, if we're going to build a new car or try to cut this one apart, or I don't know. I don't like cutting stuff apart, so we'll evaluate that when we get to the end of the year.
Do you guys have any intention of going to Baja, or are you guys just doing Best in the Desert?
Not really, unless someone wants to throw some money.
There you go.
Money definitely helps. Austin, what's so where are you in the points after winning Vegas Reno? Have you been racing for the points this year?
Oh, no. Looks like he lost internet for a second.
Looks like technical difficulties. Oh,
There we go.
Come back.
Oh,
yeah.
he's back.
There's Austin.
There he is.
So where are you in the points, Austin? I know that you guys won this race. Have you been racing the entire series? You might be muted. I don't know. We can't hear you, Austin.
There. I don't know.
We're gonna end up racing the Baja 400 instead of Laughlin, so we're not worried about the points for Best in Desert. We're gonna go for the point championship and score.
Right on. How's that been going for you guys?
We got a second at San Felipe, which was our first race in this car, and then we ended up 6th at the 500. We had a few small issues, and Doug actually drove the second half of the 500 with us. So we got 2nd and 6th, so I think we're sitting 3rd in points.
Right on. Well, it sounds like you're in a good position to race for that championship. We going to see Doug racing that car in Baja with you some more?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out the 1,000 to see who I'm going to have drive, and waiting to see if it's going to be a point run or a loop race, and that's going to see how many drivers we're going to need to make it. So I'll be talking to Doug more.
I must have gotten Fish maybe 6 text messages just about that topic today alone. People asking if I was going to divulge what I know on Fishgistics, but I don't know anything. What do you know, Fish?
If it was me, I'd be looking at the circle, but it ain't for sure. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Of course, the Baja 1000 looming in November. Not sure if we'll hear the final story before we go to the 400 or not.
I think we should get the 3-wheeler, and he should go do the Baja 1000. That's what I think. Yeah, Iron Man, of course. Can't have anybody else ride that thing.
You rode the whole way, right? I saw when you reached up for your camera, it looks like you paid the price a little bit with some blisters.
Oh yeah, they're a little bit.
A little closer. Bring it a little bit closer.
Bring the hands in again.
So.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was. I rode the whole way. My hands, and I may be missing quite a bit of bark on the backside also. The hands took a beating. And I'm not going to say exactly why, but it was a product that we ran in the rear tires to help with flats, and it made the tires shake absolutely horrendously. And I realized about mile 270, right before we went up that hill with all the rocks, between like 270 and 290, and I was top speed, 60 miles an hour or whatever, and it shook, and I was like, ooh, that hurts. And I realized that's what it was. So I got to figure something else out. The bars aren't rubber mounted. So we're going to do something, maybe try and get fast flex bars on the board or something like that. So
now, did you do the Ironman because you wanted to, or because absolutely nobody else would be dumb enough to ride that thing with you in the race?
I didn't know anybody that was either dumb enough or crazy enough, to be honest with you. I asked a couple people, and they were like, no, bro, no. I wanted to do it, to be honest with you.
It takes a specific talent level to be able to wrangle one of those beasts. I don't think I've been on a 3-wheeler since I was a teenager, and I did break my nose on a 3-wheeler when I was young, and that's why I'm as ugly as I am today. But that's my 3-wheel story.
That's funny. Yeah, people ask, they say, aren't those things dangerous? And it's like, well, something I got asked, quite a bit was about how dangerous it is and how hard it is to ride. And the motorcycle guys say, oh, you're nuts, and I race motorcycles. I used to race from arena cross back in the day and whatnot. And I think the motorcycle guys are nuts. To be honest with you, I'd rather ride that through the rocks and stuff. That low profile tire on those dirt bikes, man, that hurts on the rocks. And got a little more meat here. But what I say is 80 or probably 98% of people. There's 2 categories of people that ride 3-wheelers. 98% should have nothing to do with them, and then there's the crazy 2% like me, I guess.
How long was it fun for? How long was it fun for? And what mile did you say, I wish I didn't take this on?
Well, you know what? I was pretty good on the whole race. When I got to Gabs, my hands, I don't know if anybody saw the videos or anything, but my hands were all taped up, and I pulled the tape off and skin came off with it. And you know, and my gloves, I totally shredded a pair of gloves basically by 2:30 and mile 2:30 or whatever it was, I think gaps. And, you know, and they're like, man, are you sure you want to continue? And I'm like, give me the tape, I'm going. And I just taped them up, and I was good, you know, all the way up to mile 400. I felt really good. Once I got to about 460, I started to fall apart. Honestly, I wish I had a 5-hour energy and a couple more Advil. And by the time I got to the top of Como Summit, I had a class 1 car come screaming by me in the dark. And I pulled over and I sat there looking at that thing, and I was in the middle of those rocks, and I thought, man, this is hard, you know, and my hands were destroyed. I'm riding with my fingertips standing up on my tippy toes, trying to avoid sitting down, you know, and every rock was just excruciating. So, what kept going through my mind was, they kept saying the last 10 miles is the worst, the last 10 miles is the worst. And I'm at like 20 miles out, which apparently that's the worst spot. It's actually not 10 miles, it's 20 miles out. And so when I got through that rough section, I was like, oh, thank God. So,
It's crappy up there for sure. I can tell you from experience.
Yeah, it was. But I tell you what, each race I get stronger and stronger, and I think I'll do better even next year. We got plans for some more races this year. One of the things we're working on, in fact, I think I just got a call about it. I'm looking at doing the year-end race. What is it down there in far south in Nevada, as you can go on the river there, Laughlin or whatever. We're talking about doing Laughlin. And then I'm trying to get the Mint on board. I've been hounding the Mint, trying to get them board. So anybody watching this, hit up the Mint. Tell them to let me race my 3-wheeler. I'm a little scared of the Mint, but I'll go for it. I'm an Ironman that thing.
This guy's crazy.
He described it himself. I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah. What else can you say?
Thanks. Thank you for bringing the fun with the 3-wheeler and the Subaru. And Carson and Austin, thank you guys for being guys definitely are raised it up to be able to win those 2 classes. So competitive. And I can see the technology and the behind the scenes of what's going into both your cars. It's a very competitive style of racing. I want to congratulate both of you guys for rising up against such heavy competition and so many cars in your class. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Fish, are you good with that? We're going to start.
Yeah, we got the next guys ready. Whenever we can bring them in.
Some guy that won the overall trophy truck.
Oh, let's go. One more thing.
Go ahead.
I got a quick question for the Subaru guys. I was told that they had their camping gear and their coolers and everything in the back during the race. I wanted them to touch on that if they could.
Yeah. When we did the 20th and it was a 2-day, I mean, we just busted out our tent and camped overnight. And that time we did a little bit of trail riding on the way home. We didn't get to do much camping, but yeah, that's awesome. We always go trail riding, so we're just used to it, you know?
Yeah. But to have all your gear in the Subaru during the race, I mean, that's just wild.
No chase vehicle, right? Did you have to fuel the car along the way?
No, we had Baja pits, so that helped out a lot. And then we did have a couple buddies, Dallas and Terry, that chased us. So they met us at most of the pits.
Right on. All right, you guys. Well, thank you all so much, Austin, Carson, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this segment of Fishgistics, wrapping up the 25th anniversary Casey Folks Vegas to Reno. And we're going to move on to our third segment. While we're making that transition, I did want to say, while I have a moment here in the spotlight of Fishgistics, I want to say thank you to everybody that participated in the fundraising for the orphanage and school at Rancho Santa Marta. Baja Beach Bash that I work on with Johnny Campbell, Mark Moss, the Desert Assassins guys, JCR Honda, of course, Bulletproof Diesels, Ken and Gene Neal. Oh man, look at the background coming in. But we were able to raise nearly $300,000 for the orphanage and school, and we were able to get up over $1 million aggregate over the last 9 years. And I did want to say that video is live today through Desert Assassins Media, the Baja Beach Bash video, if you guys want to check that out. I was spurred along here through my telephone to share that news because I did not know that had gone up today. But we continue on. Here we are. We're
Everybody's in.
Here we go. Funny guy, Jacob Argerbright with a cucumber background. Of course, for those of you that don't know, Jacob Argerbright, overall winner here at this year's Vegas Reno, teamed up with Dalton Shirley. Jacob's been quite name in off-road and desert racing when it comes to motorcycles. He's traveled with us in Baja a little bit. That's how he knows that I hate cucumbers. If you guys didn't know that. So I'm sure he and his wife, Meg, have strategically organized that just for me. I really appreciate it. Also want to welcome Dustin Gerbowski, 6100 winner. Dustin has obviously some great lineage in the sport. He's been throwing down, and he's been hurting feelings in the 6100 class, finishing first in 6100, but also second overall. Dustin, congratulations on that. That's a heck of an accomplishment. And then this other dude, not sure who he is. He's got a red shirt on. He's got a trophy truck jumping in the background. It must be a trophy truck racer. But anyway, a trick truck racer as it may be this time around. Ryan Arciero, welcome back to Vegas Reno. 1 year ago, your car burns to the ground in a disastrous moment. You return in a similarly built vehicle and win the race. That has got to feel like some sweet justice for you, buddy.
Man, I tell you what, it is bittersweet. When we set the finish line, we're like, out of the ashes rises the Phoenix. And I think that's going to be the new name for this new truck, is the Phoenix. But yeah, you go from total heartbreak and knowing that there's nothing you can do but watch an $800,000 trophy truck burn to the ground and just feel helpless, to 1 year later, my team owner, Kyle Washington, deciding, let's get back to the sport. This is a cool sport. Let's do it. And the Herb Smith Fab guys, they busted their butts. They literally just got this truck done the week before the race, working around the clock, all the way up until the Thursday before. We tested it for the first time in Gene, and only were able to put about 60 miles on it, and had to address a couple little things here and there, nothing major. Go back, they address it, and then we leave for qualifying, and we put another 40, 50 miles on it in Lucerne on the way out to qualifying. And then not to have a single issue with the truck the entire race. I mean, it's unheard of. I mean, you guys know when you build something for the first time, you always have, little things here and there, especially when you got guys working around the clock, that there's ultimately, there can be issues. And man, everything just went perfect, with the exception of, a couple flat tires in the beginning of the race that cost me, but everything went like clockwork all the way to the finish line.
Right on. Congratulations on that. And congratulations to you, Jakey, bringing home the bacon with the win and the Open Pro Moto. You and your partner Dalton, who I don't know Dalton, but congratulations on bringing home that win.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for having me on. It was cool. Dalton tried to be here. He's actually trying to get into the movie industry, so he's working and trying to get into E. So he wishes he could be here. But yeah, thanks. It was just a great overall weekend.
I keep hearing from people that's the roughest Vegas to Reno that they've raced. Now, you were, if I'm not mistaken, you were the first vehicle on the road all day long or close to it. And did you feel the same, that is the roughest Vegas to Reno that you've seen? Yeah, for sure. I mean, they were definitely not lying when they said there was a lot of rain damage going over into pit 8. They said basically the whole road was gone. And I mean, it was like just little 4-inch chop of, little rain streak going across the whole mountain, and it was choppy, and I had no rear tire by that time. So it was a rough go over the mountain, but yeah, from everything I heard, it was rough, and it showed. It sounds like it. Well, you verified it from being first on the road. Dustin, congratulations on the 6100 win. That's got to be pretty sweet to win the 25th anniversary of the Vegas to Reno.
Yeah, it was definitely a good race for us. We've been doing good all year in that Herb Smith truck. They build an awesome product, and it really just shows when you look at the trucks that finish and who makes them. But it was a good race. It was definitely rocky. There was tons of rocks, just sharp rocks everywhere. And so we had to, baby the truck through all the corners, try not to snag a rock. But we ended up it was a good day for us, and, we're super stoked, take back over that points lead. For people that don't know a lot about your history in the sport, can you enlighten us how long you've been desert racing and what you've been doing? I've started desert racing, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, but my dad and uncle, they've been racing since they were in college. They started racing with the Herps and Brian Collins. And then they eventually bought their own Class 5 car and started racing desert. And then once they had the kids, they stopped racing for a little bit and, doing the family thing. And then we started getting trophy carts in probably 2006, 7, racing the whole Core, Lucas Oil. And then eventually just got burned out of short course, tearing up cars all the time. Takes a lot of time. We got burned out when just did a whole bunch of hunting, fishing, just traveling. And then we had a 5-car built. And my dad's decided, you kids are old enough to be out in the desert. Let's go desert racing. So we started racing a 5-car, the Subaru, back to 5-car, raced that for a couple of years. And then I kept bugging my mom and dad that I wanted to get in something with more competition. So I finally was able to convince my mom to, let me go build a 6100. And once we had that built, it was all said and done.
Right on. You have some interesting side panels on it, a little different than everybody else. You got anything else different going on in that truck?
No, pretty much just side panels, a little different hood just to make it easier to see for me. And besides that, just a bunch of little things we do, just a bunch of tinkering to get the truck where we want it.
Yeah, I think the 6100 class is, exactly what he just said. The little tinkering, that is what's making the difference in that class right now, because that class is the best class in off-road right now, in my opinion, as far as the closest racing and the amount of competition. It's basically what the 2-wheel drive trophy truck class was 10 years ago, I think, when everybody had a geyser. They were all the same, and it was all really close. It seems like one little change is all that it takes in the 6100 class to be the difference. I mean, all day you guys are just right there with everybody. What is the biggest thing you think? You don't have to give away your secrets, but what do you think is the biggest thing that makes a difference in the 6100 class?
I'd say, probably want to be tires, what tires are on, because we're all so close. Tires and wheel combos. You get one flat, have one wheel problem, you're done for the day, because we're all within usually seconds of each other. We're all finishing right on top of each other, and you do not want to get shuffled back, because in these trucks, once you're in the dust, unless it's wind's blowing, you're stuck in that dust because you don't have the motors to pull up on them. Once you're able to see them, then you're running along next to them, same speed. So it's just, I would say, big things, track position, and then just watching over your tires so you don't have a problem, have to pull over and get past and be stuck in the dust the rest of the race.
I think we can all accept that is great racing experience there, and an edict to live by. Ryan, I saw you smirking a little bit when he was talking about his truck. You know something we don't know down there? I see the look on your face. Come on, give it up.
No, they do a great job prepping that truck and getting it ready. Obviously, it shows, and obviously the Herb Smith Fab guys, but they're building a solid truck. Especially in the trophy truck side for a 2-wheel drive. It is absolutely solid to be able to go out to with a brand new vehicle, out of the gate, and not only go finish the Vegas Reno races. All you well know how tough this race is, and it may not be our roughest race we do all year long, but attrition in this race is always huge. And if you have the right truck underneath you, and obviously a little bit of luck along the way and good planning, then you can be in a position to win. And the Herb Smith Fap guys, they've been kicking butt, and it's just so nice to be able to drive a truck like this. Not to mention with the Gibbs power underneath it, that thing sings along down the lake beds. I tell you what.
So Ryan, you've driven a lot of different trucks. You currently drive that truck. You also currently drive an all-wheel drive Mason truck. So honestly, without insulting either side, what do you think? Is like Bryce Menzies had a 30-mile lead, right? 35-mile lead in his. Were you driving 100% all day and he pulled 30 miles, or what's the difference between the two trucks really? Can you catch Bryce Menzies if he doesn't have a problem, you think?
That's actually a legitimate and good question. I wasn't driving at 100%. Dust wasn't, since with our 2-minute gaps that we started with, dust wasn't a huge problem until you actually caught the next guy in front of you. And usually I didn't have to follow anybody for too long in the dust. I set, especially for this race, I set a plan to say, okay, I'm going to keep a certain pace. We got to pit one, and they told me I was about 18 seconds correct to Bryce, so which validated, okay, my pace is okay. I'm okay with my pace. I don't need to go any faster right now, just because I know the attrition of this race and how hard it is on trucks and tires. And then, unfortunately, right after that, we got a right rear flat, and then got it changed. Pulled over into the pit, got a new tire, went back out again, and then got a left rear flat, just an unlucky one. And so I kind of handed Bryce time right from the beginning of the race, which is probably the worst time you can do that, because now you're having to play catch up. It all in all, I've driven all-wheel drives. I'll be driving an all-wheel drive in Mike Walser's truck for the Baja 400 and the Baja 1000. The way they come off a corner, way they accelerate, the two-wheel drives can't hang with them. But when you get into the rough stuff and you get into the fast, long pulls, lake beds or really, really fast roads, I think the two-wheel drive has an advantage. Can a two-wheel drive still go head-to-head and beat a four-wheel drive if everything's on a level playing field? I still believe so. I strongly believe that. A lot of other people will say there's not a chance in hell. There's not a chance in hell. It's not going to happen. Well, look what Luke's doing. Look what Luke did prior to getting in the four-wheel drive. It can. It's not like the four-wheel drives are just light years away above the two-wheel drives right this second. I know Bryce had a huge lead. I don't know how many flats or what he had in the beginning of the race, but I know a lot of guys behind him were having issues too. So if you're comparing apples to apples, I think they're faster. I do, but not fast enough to win every single race, if that makes sense.
I think it's a good answer.
That's a good answer. Yeah, a little bit of tap dancing there, but that's okay.
He has to. He's driving.
I gotta play. I know. I gotta get in that. And Mason does an incredible job. I mean, the all-wheel drives that they built over there are phenomenal. So, and I'm lucky enough to be driving one for the Baja 400 and the Baja 1000 with Mike Walser. So I know what they do. And Dugan's is the power plant, and Dugan's builds a phenomenal engine. So it's a hard combination to beat. So you kind of need that Gibbs power package in some of these two-wheel drives to be able to have the long legs on the lake beds and the fast roads to keep up with the four-wheel drives.
Fish, he's going to get confused on who to thank here.
I know. Well, what about Jesse? Jesse has one of those motors in his all-wheel drive.
Hey, Austin, can you mute RCRO for a little bit? I think that's enough.
Had enough out of him.
Let's talk to Jake here for a second. Hey, Jake, I just want to ask you straight up, man. These guys are country clubbers, aren't they? I mean, what they're driving in these mega horsepower, 40-inch tire, fast light. And you're riding a dirt bike through the middle of the desert. I mean, gee whiz, these guys.
I know. They have it made. And actually, I kind of joined them this year. I didn't have to do any bike work. Like, usually I have to do all the tires and stuff. But, I'm trying to join that club, and I didn't have to do any bike work. Like, Husqvarna prepped it. And, I mean, it's a nice program. It's easy. Like, I didn't even take any sips from my Camelback. Like, it's just that, it's that easy of a race, which is awesome.
That's awesome to hear. So let's hear a little bit about your history in the sport. We haven't had you on the show. I know that I first met you at Endurocross, wearing your orange helmet. What's been your trajectory?
Well, I'm 30 now. I've been racing desert pretty much all my life. I've chased the National Hare and Hound Series for a while. I've done Best in the Desert. I think actually you met my mom when I was doing Endurocross, and I think she was drunk at the Alligator Bar, which is funny because she still talks about that. And so I did Endurocross, and I think, my first Vegas to Reno one was in 2018. And I've been just trying to figure out what I want to do from there. I'm actually getting ready to start doing road books. I want to hit the Abu Dhabi Challenge in November. I want to give the whole rally thing a go, and kind of see how that goes.
Do you have some factory help from the Husqvarna guys?
No, it's a little late in the year. I have help from Kawasaki, and they were nice enough to let me race Vegas Reno with Dalton on a Husky, which is awesome.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the future. I know, like, for rally, the Austrian bike is kind of where I need to be. So, like for Abu Dhabi, I will be renting a bike. So, I might switch. I don't know yet.
Copy. And have you won Vegas Reno before?
Yeah. So in 2018, and I actually think, if I'm wrong, I think I was on the very first Fishgistics show. I think that's when it started. And I think me and Max Eddy won the overall.
Oh, that's right. Wow. Right on. Congratulations. And racing against Ricky Braybeck, he's on his Dakar bike. This is not a bad race for the Dakar bike. It's got to be interesting to try to manage expectations for yourself and for him, as well as the other competition. What was it, something you were paying attention to closely, what Ricky was up to?
Yeah, of course. I mean, he's a beast. I mean, it took two of us to beat him. You know, I mean, I feels awesome to win, but you know, two of us just to beat him, like I feel kind of less of a man. But you know, I'd like to do Ironman in the future. But yeah, I mean, everyone's going real fast, and that rally bike is no joke. I mean, I think he only stops at pit 3, 7, and 10. I know he had some issues, but usually, I mean, he doesn't even, yeah, he barely has to stop. But we also had a good platform too. We had a big IMS tank, and we basically skipped every other pit. I mean, we could do 100 miles on a gas tank, so that was nice. And so we kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. But no, it was tough for sure.
To clarify, Jacob rode on the overall winning bike. He had a teammate, Dalton Shirley, couldn't make it today. Ricky Braybeck rode by himself solo on his Dakar rally bike for testing for later in the year. Interesting to hear that you're looking at the road book world. Have you done any road booking so far, Jacob?
Yeah, actually. So, I mean, I usually race National Hare and Hound, like the full series. This year, I didn't, try and contend for it. I actually started doing road books. I went to the Sonora rally, which was an expensive learning experience, but that was super cool. It was fun. I ended up blowing up 2 Cowie motors. The first one on the first day, I made my driver go back to the States and get one, put it back in overnight, blew the second one up. And then Mason Klein was nice enough to loan me his bike, and I rode it for the last 3 days, and I ended up crashing it, breaking most of the road tower stuff. And so I had to replace all that and just get an experience. So that's the only, I guess, rally race I've done. I was supposed to do Baja Rally, but I had a chance, like I said, to do the Abu Dhabi Challenge. So I'm just going to do that, which, should be a big, fun race for me.
Yeah, I've raced Baja Rally. I had a good time. I like the navigation end of it. There was a time back in 2017 when I was looking at renting a bike to go to Dakar myself. I decided to focus on our Baja 1000 racing effort. I didn't think I could do both as well as I needed to, so made that decision. But we look forward to seeing what you're doing. Dustin, what's going on with you? What's coming down the pipe? Where are you in the points, and what's going on?
As of right now, I believe we're leading the Best in Desert points and the Triple Crown points. So just focusing on getting, just all the Best in Desert races. Maybe at the end of the year, after the last Best in Desert race, maybe go down to the 1,000, run the truck in the 1,000. But as of right now, just getting my truck all tore apart, getting it all prepped for the Laughlin 2-day.
You guys do all the prep on that yourself, or how does that work with your guys' truck?
Yeah, I do all the prep myself. I do pretty much everything. I send most of the calipers, all that stuff out to who builds them, but I do all the actual prep, taking it all apart. We do handle that all at my shop on that and our 5-car. Cody, who was riding with me, he preps the 5-car now. I taught him pretty much what he needs to do to that, so he's handling that. And we do everything in house. Save on some cost, and it also helps me as a driver. I know when I tear it up, I got to fix it. So definitely calms me down a little bit, because you don't want to be like qualified. That's why I always think I struggle during qualifying, because I don't want to be up all night trying to fix the truck. So I always take it a little too conservatively.
Yeah,
definitely. It doesn't look like
qualifying adds. Well, not to interrupt you, Cameron, but qualifying. This is the first time the bikes got to qualify too, right? So it was kind of cool that they mixed it up, and that adds a whole nother thing to it. How hard do you go in qualifying? Like Ryan, I know you didn't necessarily qualify up towards. I mean, you were up front, but you weren't at the very front. Were you even trying to get to the front, or did you just have a different pace set?
Kind of like Dustin says, I take a little bit more conservative approach to qualifying, and I've had it bite me in the butt in one of the old Herbst trucks at the Baja 500 in qualifying, where we caught a lip and rolled the truck, and so I tend to stay a little bit more reserved. I think we qualified 7th, trophy truck 8th. I was okay with where we were at because I knew we were still within a fast group, and that's pretty much my goal when I approach qualifying, is just to get myself and the team into the fast group, and then let everything happen where you let it all kind of lay out from there. But it's hard because that's the last thing you want to do is wad that thing up or have an issue with a thing 2 days before a race, and your guys are busting their ass to try to get that thing back together again.
I've been there. I can tell you all about it. Don't do that.
It's like, Cameron, you're trying to find that fine line between staying fast and then saving your equipment, because you still have to race in this thing as well.
Well, I did an even bigger goon move. I was at, I think it was Mint 400 qualifying, and I was just on the sighting lap goofing around and went off a jump like at 35 miles an hour and ended up endoing my truck 2 times end over end. And we tried to race it after a full day's worth of work, and it was a complete yard sale. I did actually roll a truck another time in qualifying, also at the Mint qualifying, Josh Daniel was riding with me. Big surprise, 2 circus acts inside the truck. And we came into the last corner where the big rollers are. They always do that. And just held it down. And the good news was that Robbie Gordon had already taken down the timing tower, so he had to replace that. We just rolled across the finish line. But 3rd place, we qualified 3rd. I think it was that 15? I don't even know. Who cares? That was old news. But we did qualify top 3 at the Mint, and we were upside down on the other side of the finish line. Just saying, top that one. Who's got?
And you won a couple of Whistle Dick awards, I'm sure, from Casey for those.
I would think I was like one of Casey's favorite targets all along. Whenever I showed up, I was definitely in his sights. I love the man because he was so awesome to just tell us exactly how he felt or what he was thinking at the time. And I appreciate everything that Casey did, and that his sons carrying on the tradition with Scott Harden in the group is fun to see. And Scott always sends me messages. He's not afraid to tell me how it is either.
I do, just since we were talking about that, I would like to give a quick shout out to Best in the Desert. They did a really good job on their qualifying coverage at this race. We got to watch all of you guys qualify live with drones and everything. So they stepped up. They did some live videos. So props Best in the Desert. That was cool. Hopefully they can keep that going and then move it into even like the race stuff eventually.
No, as a competitor, I appreciated that. We need that. Any coverage for our sport is big. Our fans and the people that really don't know about us, but are going to love us. They're starving for information. They're starving for coverage. They're starving for footage. And I'm hoping kind of Score follows along with that as well, and kind of steps up their game a little bit too. 1 for qualifying and 2 for race day, so we can have some great race day coverage as well. And I know Fish, everybody's tuning into you because your hourly updates are phenomenal, and it's a place for someone to go to find information out. So it's critical.
Ryan, do not stroke his ego.
Or we need to mute Cameron here. What were you saying, Ryan?
Cameron, he told me that I'm in on the $20 as well. So so watch out.
He lies. I've never seen a check from him yet, but I agree. People must be desperate for content if they're coming to listen to Fish talk about something.
Yeah. I don't want the promoters to do too good of a job, because then I'll be out of a job.
I think at this point, Fish, that you've laid it down, and I think people are coming to watch what you're doing. It doesn't matter what the promoters do at this point, to be honest with you. I think it's been a great job. And for me personally, with the Fishgistics thing, I've always respected people that put their flag in the ground and want to do something and go for it. And Fish said he was going for it. I said, I'll help you out. What the hell? I kind of like the little fella. I'm not sure why, but it's good to be able to have this forum, not just here, but the live content. And when I was at Vegas to Reno, I was trying to log into the live content to, at the top of the hour to see what was going on, and people know it's going to be there. And what's great is I think you have some really fun, unfiltered content. I mean, I might be a little bit more conservative than Brian Busby or some of the other people that are feeding content, but there is content coming, and the race teams are starting to figure it out. And you guys can send stuff back or go live or get on with Fish. And I even saw split screen stuff on Fishgistics while I was watching. I was like, oh my God, this thing's Fish is out of control.
Busby actually had, Harley came in with the broken transmission, and he ran right up to him. I'm like, I wouldn't go up and talk to him right now, but he was like, hey, what's wrong? You're on Fishgistics. I'm like, oh, great. But he was cool. And
whether
really
it's just
cool.
marketing or not, one of the most incredible stories I heard coming out of Vegas Reno was that the Lettner and Kevin Thompson team, Concrete Motorsports, were able to change a transmission in 20 minutes. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that is spectacular.
Yeah, and I told him, I talked to Harley after. I was like, hey, tell everybody that was a really good job. The last time that I have seen a team be able to change a trophy truck transmission in less than 20 minutes was Alan Pfluger's team back in the day, when they had everybody there and everybody rehearsed it, 10 times at the shop with John Hoffman, and they're dialed. So I haven't seen anybody do it since. And honestly, you don't really blow up a lot of transmissions nowadays, so that's probably why too. But to see them do it in less than 20 minutes was very impressive.
No, it's back then when Alan was racing. I mean, that's when you can change a transmission and still win a race. And so those guys were practicing. I remember when I raced for the Vortec program. I mean, they put a ton of time in practicing. And for Harley and those guys, I'm sure they haven't been specifically practicing that, because you don't really have transmission problems anymore. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, honestly, we used to have a lot of quick disconnect stuff on the transmission lines and everything, and we've more recently gone away from them, but we were on the same page, trying to be quick. We had a transmission change one time at the Baja 500, I think in 12, that took us like 50 minutes, and the crew was pretty close, and we were like, oh, we can't do that again. So I mean, everybody has only a certain amount of time to focus on stuff, and that's super impressive. I definitely wanted to mention that. Dustin, could you change your transmission in your 6100 truck in 20 minutes, you think, out on the course, or in the pit? Sorry.
Yeah. Last year at Silver State, me and my co-rider actually changed one out in the middle of the desert. Best in the Desert brought it in. I mean, the Herbst trucks, they make them so they're super easy to work on. It's two quick disconnect fittings, and then just the 6 bolts to hold 7 bolts to hold the tranny in. So getting it out and putting it back in isn't that big of a deal. It's just having to wait when we had to do it, having to wait for Best in the Desert to bring it to us.
And how hot is that thing when you're changing that thing? Man, you got to have some. I wouldn't want to be the guy that's by the converter in case that thing comes out and that fluid comes everywhere.
We just pushed the thing right out just slid it right out, let it fall in the sand, dragged the thing out of the way, and just stay away from that thing. It was up to like 600 degrees when it finally let loose. So it was hot. Out of the way. Going in.
Hey, speaking of hot and converters and everything, all joking aside, Ryan, did you guys ever figure out exactly what happened with the fire last year with your truck?
No, we did. We know we lost a rear hub seal, and not knowing it at the time, and completely ran the rear end out of fluid all over the brake calipers, all over the tires, and soaked the tires in, and something just sparked it. Don't know what it was, enough to catch the tire on fire, the inside of the tire, and so that fluid just slow burned on that tire while I was racing. Finally got that tire engulfed, and that's what got everything else. And once rubber is fully engulfed, trying to put it out with any fire extinguisher is near impossible. And so even when we had our fire extinguishers on the truck, we had our flame out system on the truck. Householder had stopped to give us his fire extinguisher. Then he started to do donuts around the thing, and it was just so far gone at that point. A fire truck would have been hard to put that thing out. And so it's one of the sickest feelings you can ever imagine, is sitting there knowing that you can't do anything, and you're just sitting there watching that thing, and in a matter of minutes that thing's going to be completely rubble. You go from an $800,000 trophy truck to a worthless pile of metal, and it's sickening. It really is.
That's a tough one. Well, just thought we'd follow up. It's been a year. Thought we could get the information. It's probably already been out there. Fish, what else you got for these guys?
I don't know. Are you, Dustin? Are you going to get any plans to step up out of the 6100 class, or are you guys content there for now?
We'd always like to step up. It's just budget. I'd like to get maybe a couple rides and do some other stuff in someone else's truck for a little bit, see how we do. But no, we definitely have talked about it. It's always a talk. It's just a big commitment to go switch to trophy trucks, switch it all over, and then just the amount amount of money it costs to go run in trophy truck for a full year compared to 6,100. It's just that commitment where, going back and forth.
Is your truck, could you actually take that same truck and put a bigger motor in it and race trophy truck, or what would you actually have to get a new truck, or how's that work with those?
But pretty much just put the motor in it and all the wiring. It's the exact same truck.
Same platform, right, Ryan? They're the exact same truck.
Yep, they're all built off the same fixture table at the Herb Smith Fab Shop.
Well, there you go.
Other than the wiring and the engine changes, or anything else, Dustin, that you would have to step to make that move?
I know they run some different coolers, but pretty much just all coolers, motor, and electronics. We already did all the big shocks, got all the trophy truck shocks on it because sometimes they run smaller just to save some weight. I put all the big stuff on it just so lasts longer, bigger. So it's not that big of a change, but it's just a big commitment.
Yeah, just the motor alone is a lot more expensive just for that.
Absolutely, and the maintenance on it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan, I know they changed something on that new truck, didn't they? On the front end, what did they do to it's actually a new version, or what is it?
Yeah, this was their first fully built next generation truck, and chassis wise, it's pretty much the same. Pickup points are pretty much the same. They changed the upper suspension, upper arms, and upper bump stops. One of the issues we had, didn't say issues, but one of the things we were kind of fighting with setup is diving into the really big deep ditches and carrying speed into them and just hitting the stops. And trying to slow that suspension down a little bit more at the very, very top. And when we would do that, we would start creating harshness in the fast medium sized bumps, and we couldn't find that happy medium. Now with this change, the front's really, really progressive and really nice. So you can throw it into some of those big ditches, and the finish on it is just extremely nice. We hadn't had any issues with the front bottoming out on this truck. Now we still have some tuning we have to do on it between now and our next race. Will be the Mint 400 with this truck. So we have some more tuning we have to do and some more test time. But there's that. They spent quite a bit of time and money with CFD programming on the front nose to get some aero better on the nose and just airflow to the coolers better. So the front nose is a little different than the original trucks. Fuel cells another 14 gallons bigger with fueling on either side of the rear now, and then a whole new cooler package with this truck as well that the guys that Todd and the guys at Herb Smith Fab came up with to make it more efficient. The transmission cooler, I mean, I've never had the transmission temperatures run this cool in my entire life, so they nailed that. And then the Gibbs engine, there's been some updates since our last motor, unfortunately the one that burnt to the ground, compared to this one, and that they've made internally. And those guys continue to develop to move forward. But other than that, obviously the looks of it, all the rear suspension's the same. But just I mean that's about it for this truck. But it's enough.
Yeah.
Awesome, good information. Hey, Austin, Jacob and Dalton, overall pro bike, Ryan Arciera, overall trophy truck. Which one? What was the elapsed time or speeds for both classes?
Let me see. So Ryan was 7:56, and then the bike was 7:44. So
That's
was
awesome,
that 12
too.
minutes?
So the bike's by 12 minutes.
Bike's by 12 minutes.
My hats off to you guys. That is phenomenal.
That's fast.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that, Ryan? I mean, we're in the trophy truck, right? And we're going how fast at different times, right? And these guys on the bike can beat us. That's.
I don't remember the last time that the bikes beat the trucks in a bigger race. either.
Well, so I think I was talking to Scott at the awards, and I think for a while the trucks were winning for a while, and then recently I think it switched over to the bikes. And actually it was super cool. When Dalton was racing, I was looking at the racing tracks, and I think at mile 200 we were about 30 seconds behind the overall lead, which was Bryce at the time. And then I forget, I think at mile 300 maybe we were like 12 minutes down, and I was like, oh crap, like I don't know if we're gonna do it. But I knew, obviously it gets a little slower, a little bit more technical, and as it was getting closer, the time was shifting, and it ended up working out in our favor, which I like competing in the trucks. It's pretty cool. It's just fun. So
fun is the name of the game for sure.
That last section too for you guys, I'm sure. I mean, the last part of that whole race is some of the most technical and rockiest of the entire race course, and I'm sure you guys can get through that pretty darn quick. Plus, we had a little bit. I think, did you guys have rain when you guys came through there? Because it was damp when I came through there heading to the finish.
No, so when we were just finishing, it started looking dark and basically just, started raining. But no, I wish we had gotten wet dirt. It'd be cool. But yeah, going over the mountain's pretty easy for us. Like actually in 2018, I had no front tire and I actually ended up falling, just grading my arm down like a cheese grater and had to go to the hospital and get stitches. So I didn't even get to celebrate. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a positive for us to go over that.
Definitely worth mentioning as we start to wrap up here, Dustin Grabowski, second overall, if we didn't clarify that completely, but that's a pretty awesome feat. Has a 6100 truck ever finished second overall with the trucks and the buggies like that, Dustin?
No, I don't believe so. I believe we were the first truck to finish that far up with the trophy trucks. So that's super cool. And, we just had a super good pace all day. We just tried to save it at the beginning because last year at the beginning I made some mistakes, got a flat tire. So this year I just kind of cooled out for the first 200 miles and then started pushing in the middle. And then once I knew I was in the lead, like the last 80 miles, I just kind of putted the truck into the finish, trying not to get the truck sideways, clip a rock through all the rocky stuff. So I just kind of cruised. So it was cool to see her finish that far up and the overall times. So it's super cool.
Right on. Congratulations again, Dustin. Second overall winner in the trophy trucks, 6100, confusing different organizations. Congratulations to Ryan Arciero, your overall four-wheel winner, and Jacob Argerbright and Dalton Shirley, your overall bike winners. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode of Fishgistics. Are you feeling good about that, Fish?
Yeah, we're good. I did just on a little side note, since we're always breaking news, Score just sent out an email regarding the Baja 400. They were going to do the contingency down back on the main street where they used to do it. That is no longer. There is health and safety protocols once again at the Baja 400. So contingency will be back at the Score compound and no spectators or anything for the Baja 400. You have to wear PPE again and everything when you go to tech. So that's just breaking news that came out a little bit ago. Thought I'd throw that out there.
Right on. Thank you, Fish. Thanks once again to all of our winners in the classes, everybody that joined us in the first and second segments. Fish, I think that's going to wrap it for us. I did want to say one more time that our entire desert racing community mourns the loss of Darren Dreyer, and our hearts are with his family. Our prayers are with him and the family. And, desert racing is a lot of fun, and be safe out there, people. And make sure you do your best to come home to your family. Keep it smart, keep it safe. And that's going to do it for this wrap-up show for the 25th annual KC Folks Vegas Reno. I'm Cameron Steele. That's Austin Fish Farner, Fishgistics himself. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody. See you.